Good morning, everyone. As you already know, we have mid-semester one has been scheduled uh, in the next week for ETC subject. The mid-semester syllabus is unit number one. For ETC subject, please note down. We will have unit number one in the syllabus. So what I'll do is today we'll do a little quick revision of what we have already done in unit one, so that we have a little revision happening for our mid semester and we can prepare accordingly. If you have any queries, you can also ask once we do the revision part. So, I hope you can see the slide. Unit number one, dynamics of communication. We've already taken a unit test, so you more or less have an idea about things, right? So more or less you have an idea about it, but because now it's a mid-semester exam, a little more detailing. Uh, we might not be having the true or false kind of questions. We'll be having options in the question that you have to look into, right? Four options and the answer to be given, as you have already been informed that the exam that will take place would be in the form of an MCQ, right? So unit one, because there is only unit one, you would understand that it would be highly detailed in nature. uh, Most of the PPTs have already been uploaded, so you can take. So you can find the PPT. You need to use the PPT, as well as the reference books have been shared with you in the folder, right? So you need to look into that folder part as well, so that you'll find the reference book. You'll have a detailing of what is mentioned as PPT, or it's as the points in the PPT. Right? So let's take the very first thing. We need to know about the definitions and process of communication. Now, remember, communication is a skill which is divided into four parts. It's called the LSRW. L stands for listening, S for speaking, reading, and writing. Okay. So right now till now, what we have done is we have talked about verbal, non-verbal, written, and now we are reached a place which is called the oral communication. Fine. So what are the different definitions? Please remember, I hope you had been making notes, that the word communication comes from the word called communicare, which means to share. It is a Latin word. Communication actually comprises of two types of communication: verbal as well as non-verbal. So what is the definition of communication? The definition of communication is an exchange of ideas, views, opinions, or information by two or more people is termed as a communication. Right? There are various different definitions from Newman, Oxford Dictionary, etc. Then we move on to the process. So what is the process? It is actually a cyclic process and two-way process. It's a circular process, right? I told you the sender and the receiver keep on changing their places. The sender and the receiver keep on changing their places. So it's a two-way process and it's a cyclic process. So once the sender can become a receiver, right? So it begins with the sender, it ends uh, with the receiver giving a feedback, and then again it starts. So it's a cyclic process, it's a two-way process. Then sender. Who's the sender? The one who has the idea. The sender encodes the message. Right? Encoding means arranging the idea that is he or she has in his mind into something which can be understood by the opposite person, the receiver. So the sender will encode the message, which is going to be sent through the channel or the medium. Now, the channel or the medium means the way in which you want to transport the message. So it could be an oral message, it could be an email, it could be a written message, etc. And what will happen? The message will be decoded. So the receiver will try to understand the message. So message is decoded. Decoded by whom? The receiver. That is the other end of the message. Now remember, I have been informing every now and then that the process of communication is incomplete without a feedback. So what is a feedback? A feedback is actually the response or the reaction of the receiver. Now when the receiver gives this feedback, then and then only the process completes, the cyclic process comes to an end, right? Now apart from these many words, there are two other words which are very important in the process of communication. One, the communication environment. The actual place where the communication takes place is called the communication environment. And two, noise. What is noise? Noise is any kind of distraction that happens, any kind of distraction that happens and disturbs the communication process is termed as noise. What are a few examples of noise? There is problem in the network, one. Two, you are at a place and in the background there is a lot of noise going on, for example on the roads. This is all we are talking about oral communication. What if it is written communication? The noise examples could be bad handwriting, uh, incorrect sentence structures, incorrect written information, or incorrect spellings or spelling mistakes. These are all kinds of noise. These are different examples of noise. Now let's move on. A second topic that we have, this we have completed the definition and the process. Okay, the next topic that we have is kinesics. That's the technical term. What is the simple word? It's called body language, or it's also called communication without words, right? Non-verbal. So in kinesics, what do we include? Kinesics is actually a branch of study for studying how you communicate through your body, right? So what do we include? We start with the head, the nodding of the head to say a yes or no, right? If you nod your head from up and down, it's a yes. If you nod it from side to side, it's a no. Right? So nodding of the head. Then from the head, we move on to the facial expressions. Now remember, body language, some of the parts of a body language could be involuntary. Involuntary means it is not in your control. Right? Let's say you don't like something, it will show on your face. You will frown. Frowning is a kind of a facial expression. Right? Being grumpy is a kind of a facial expression. When you smile and you are happy, it is a kind of a facial expression. So face expresses a lot of things. Now, from the facial expression, next we have eye contact. A person who is a very good speaker or a very good presenter would maintain excellent eye contact with the audience. Would maintain an excellent eye contact with the audience. Eye contact actually is a reflection of your confidence. Eye contact is actually a reflection of your confidence. Right, how confident you are, you can it is actually reflected in your eyes, right? When I say eye contact, it means you are not supposed to stare at the person. You are supposed to maintain an eye contact of a few minutes, precisely 2 or 3 minutes, not more, right? Now after facial expression, we move on to gestures. What are gestures? The upper body movements are called as gestures, or the movements of the torso. Torso, that's the upper body, that's the jargon for upper body, is known as gestures. Now what does it include? It includes your hand movements, your arm movements, and your finger movements. So when you're pointing a finger at somebody, you might be asking a question, or you might be showing that the person is guilty. When you give a thumbs up sign, situation depending on the situation, when you give a thumbs up sign, it means either, let's say if your friend is doing a presentation and you give a thumbs up sign before the presentation, it means best of luck. And after the presentation, it means you did very good. Okay, so same signals can have varied meanings. Same signals can have varied meanings. Please give me a minute. right? So the gestures, postures, gestures would come accordingly, and you would interpret the gestures in that way. Next, you have postures. What are postures? Postures means the way we sit, stand, or walk is called a posture. Uh, Posture is also a reflection of your confidence and how things are happening. Posture is also a reflection of your confidence and how things happen. Correct postures reflect positive messages. Correct postures reflect positive messages. Incorrect postures would convey a very negative message. Now, whatever this body movements that happen or kinesics happen, it is directly related to the emotions that you feel, is directly related to how you are feeling. Let's say you are extremely happy, it will reflect, you'll be very chirpy, you'll have a bright day, people can see that confidence in your eyes, okay, you'll be shining. Similarly, you are the same person, but the very next day you're not happy about something, right? So you'll feel sulky, you'll feel gloomy, you'll feel sad about things, right? So the person remains constant, but because of the situations that affect your mental state and your emotions, that will guide your body language. Okay, your emotions, the way you feel about things would always guide your body language. That's a fact. Now this was kinesics. Kinesics into simple terms is body language. Next word that we have is proxemics. Proxemics. Proxemics in simple language, it is called space language. Proxemics in simple terms is called space language. Remember, I had asked you to note down two names: one, the name of a person, and two, the name of the book that he wrote. So, Edward T. Hall is the name of the person. You can find the spelling in the PowerPoint. So, Edward T. Hall is the name of the author, and The Hidden Dimension is the name of the book. Okay, so Edward T. Hall in the book The Hidden Dimension has divided space into four different zones. Space into four different zones. So proxemics is divided into four different zones. So which are these four zones? So I had asked you to remember a small acronym. It's called IPSP. IPSP. So it's easier to remember the chronology. Remember here, I have already instructed that you cannot change the chronology because everything will increase. It is an increasing order chronology if you see the distance as well. So what does this IPSP stand for? I, intimate zone; P, personal zone; S, social zone; P, public zone. Intimate, personal, social, public. Now intimate zone, remember they have been measuring things into feet, okay, inches and feet. So intimate zone 0 to 18 inches, or maybe physical contact to 18 inches. This here for intimate zone, the relationship that a mother and a child shares is the best example. Here you speak quite informally, you speak in small whispering noises, and sometimes words are not at all required. P, personal zone, it ranges from 18 inches to 4 feet, remember, right? Or 0 to 1.5 feet, 1.5 feet to 4 feet. Okay, personal. The personal zone would include all your immediate family. Here again, we talk in very informal manner. Little sounds or the volume of the voice is little higher as compared to the intimate zone. And this includes your near friends. By near friends, I mean your best friends, your family members, and your first cousins. Then you have a social zone which ranges from 4 to 8 feet. Here you'll be including all those people whom you know, or your acquaintances. Acquaintances means people who you know. So here you become a little more formal. because it's a social gathering or a socially active things that you do. So people you know in the society. By society, I don't mean the place where you live. By society, I mean the people, this arrangement of we human beings existing in a particular manner, right? So you know people in the society, that would be a part of your social zone. And last is the public zone. The public zone you will be including from 12 feet uh, till eyesight, or 30 feet is the maximum which we have in public zone. Public zone is highly formal because it is meant for public speakers. Here you will be interacting with larger number of people, whether you know them or you don't know them. Secondly, because the range is a public speech and you are quite in the public, or you're going to make, or whatever you are talk is going to be taken note of, so this is going to be a very highly formal kind of a zone for communication. Next word that we have, or the next topic that we have, is paralinguistic features. By paralinguistic features, remember the word, as I said in English, you have to just look at the word to know the meaning. So para language, by para we mean similar or same or like, or and then you have language. So it's like language, it's not language itself. Remember, it is not language itself, it is like language, similar to language. uh, it is actually a part of what we call as vocalics. Vocalics. By vocalics, we mean things which are related to your voice. Okay, things which are related to your voice. Simple understanding. So, what do paralinguistic features include? They include the quality of voice. Remember, the quality of voice, everybody has a unique quality. You cannot change the quality, but you can train yourself. There have been different examples like Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, many people who have trained themselves in speaking good, speaking better. So, the quality of voice. Next, you have the volume, high or low, high or low. This volume of the voice would always depend on the volume of the voice would always depend on the physical area in which you are talking. The physical area in which you are talking. Why? Let's say you take the same person, as I said, while we are dealing with kinesics, the same person, but depending on the emotions that he or she feels, it's how he or she would react. Similarly, your volume of voice would depend on the physical environment that you have. Let's say you are sitting in a classroom, the volume of your teacher's voice will raise. The volume of your teacher's voice will raise, right? It will be higher. Now, remember, when I say high and low, we will be comparing it to the physical environment which is there. It will depend on the physical environment. Same teacher who is teaching you in the classroom, when he or she teaches you in the lab settings, where the classroom is, the location is smaller, more compact, and the number of people is also more compact. The same teacher will be teaching there, but the voice volume would be lower. The same teacher who will be teaching there, in the lab sessions or the lab environment, the volume will be lower as compared to the lecture sessions. Where I'm talking about the lab session of 20 to 25 people. Okay. Next, you have the pace or the rate of speaking. Pace or the rate of speaking. The words are synonymous. So, what do we mean by the pace or rate of speaking? By pace or rate, we mean the speed with which one speaks. The speed with which one speaks. Usually, an average person would speak 120 words, approximately 120 words per minute. Okay, 120 words per minute. Uh, why do we need to maintain our speed to an average level? We need to maintain our speed at an average level because we need to maintain our speed at an average level because the human mind, like when you are speaking, you are not only speaking for yourself, but you are also speaking for the audience. So the people who have to understand you have to have some time to grasp that understanding. So this human mind is like a sponge. It requires a few seconds to absorb the information which is being passed on. Right? You cannot have immediate clapping from the person. Even if it is a stand-up comedy, it takes a few fraction of a seconds. So the speed at which you are speaking is really important to maintain, because if you are speaking too fast before the people understand sentence 1, you are already on sentence 3 and they lose connection. Or in the other case, in the reverse case, if you are speaking too slow, if you are speaking too slow, it would become very boring and monotonous. After some time, people will stop paying attention. Then you have got voice modulation. By voice modulation, we mean modulating or varying your voices, sometimes laying emphasis on words, sometimes not laying emphasis on words. That's voice, word stressing, etc. Right? Word modulation is required so that you can make things little interesting. Next, and very important, is pronunciation. Remember, when I say pronunciation, I do not mean that you pronounce each and everything according to the British accent or the American accent. Uh, the worldly accepted accent is what is preferred, right? As accent that everybody can understand. And last and very important is the pause. What is a pause? A pause is a small stop that you take when you are speaking. Why are pauses important? Similarly to the rate of speaking, in the pause case also, when you have to emphasize on certain things, when you want people to remember a certain part of an information, you will pause so that they can absorb the information. You have given them time to absorb the information. So that was all about paralinguistic features. Then what do we have next? We have something called intercultural communication and interpersonal communication. So let's start with interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is communication within the organization with different kinds of people. So why do we need to communicate with people? Everybody is recruited according to the nature of the job that they are supposed to do, depending on the skills that they possess. Depending on the skills that they possess. Now, an individual cannot work on his or her own. Why? If an individual is given to do all the work on his or her own, then he or she would be overburdened and will not be able to complete the work in the given time limit, right? Or the given deadline. So, what do we need to do? In that case, we need to communicate, we need to collaborate, and we need to cooperate. These are the skills that you should have according to the interpersonal skills. You need to communicate very nicely with people. Nicely means your idea should be clearly passed on. When I say nice communication, I don't mean you have to behave nicely with the person all the time. I mean to say, when I say nice communication, it means whatever idea you have in your mind, a good transportation of the idea to the other person's mind, a clear transportation. Collaboratively, everybody has a skill, and it will help not only the individual to succeed but also the organization to succeed. And corporation, you have to work in a balance with people. Apart from this, you should be flexible enough to adjust to the situation, and you should be working keeping in mind the deadline. Now, at workplace, we don't only need friends who will always say yes, yes, yes to whatever you do. We need mentors. Remember, who is a mentor? A mentor is a person who will guide you, who will scold you when you are wrong, who will try to bring out the best in you. So, we don't need only colleagues, but we also require people who are mentors, people who are ideal, people who we see as the person who we want to become, right? Want to have a experience of having people who will help you not only grow in an organization but also grow and succeed in your life. Those are the ones we call as mentors. And the last topic for this unit was intercultural communication. uh, the reason that we require intercultural communication is, now we are not limited to a particular street, city, or state, right? Most of the companies have become global. You might get a chance to work in some other part of the world on behalf of your company. So, what do we do? And why is intercultural communication required? See, we knowing a language does not mean that you know the culture. Culture is quite deep. We had seen the iceberg theory. Whatever we see on the surface is very less as compared to what is beneath the surface, right? So, what happens is if we do not know much about a culture, being placed in a different culture will result in a shock. The person will get a shock, which is also termed as cultural shock. Why a cultural shock? Because you're not accustomed to that kind of things happening. Now, according to the cultures or the cultural environment in which you are brought up, your exposure to different things will be different. Let me give you an example. In the West, we already have the example in our PPT. So, in the West, what happens is you can call your boss by his or her first name or last name. In India, we usually add sir or madam. See, nothing is wrong. It's just about how you have been culturally brought up or what is your cultural background. What is your cultural background? Okay. So it depends on that. So to know this culture, because if I call someone sir, so he will be shocked. And when I hear somebody calling my boss by his name, then I will also be in a shock. I'll not be able to adjust to that environment. So to reduce the friction of me adjusting and adapting to that environment, we need to know a little about the culture where we are going to go. A little knowledge is what is required, so that it helps you to transit from one culture into another culture in a very smooth manner. That's the only reason need to know the culture, because how do you communicate, right? Let's say in India, if you are late for some work, it is okay. But the Mandarin countries, that is countries like China and Japan, do not appreciate somebody coming late. They would want you to be on time or at least 5 minutes before time. Why? Because late coming in China and Japan, countries like China and Japan, they are considered to be a mark of lack of interest. In India, it is fine. So I hope you understand why intercultural communication is required and why we need to have an idea of it, so that we can have a smooth transition over from one culture to another. Remember, you cannot know any culture in a day. Remember the iceberg theory, where you have certain things in the on the surface that you can learn easily, but there is something which is called the depth, which is below the surface, and you need to understand many things before you learn it. Right? So these are uh, intercultural and interpersonal communication. Now, overall, why is communication important for an organization? As we have already discussed, uh, actually, when you communicate better, your organization is more better. Right? If communication is clear, the organization can function more smoothly. It is actually like the food and fuel of an organization. You have to communicate if you wish to make your organization progress. Right? What do food and fuels do? They keep the person going on. Similarly, if you communicate, the organization moves forward. Secondly, it is very important because it will help you to administer the people better. Nobody told us that we have to submit it on the 15th. Nobody informed that you have to do it by the 10th, etc. If you do not communicate, then communication helps in managing the organization better. Better management, better administration, food and fuel of the organization. It also is responsible for individual success as well as the success of the organization. It is very important for individual success as well as the success of the organization, right? So these are the important factors of why you should communicate and why is communication important in today's organization. Remember, the statement says importance of intercultural and interpersonal communication in today's organization, right? So this is what unit number 1 is all about. I have revised, try to do a quick revision of all the topics that are covered in unit 1. People who have joined us late, you are aware that our mid semester 1 exam has been scheduled, and for our subject, it is on the 24th, right? So mid-semester exams have been scheduled for the subject effective technical communication etc. The syllabus or the course that you have to cover for mid-semester one, you have to study for mid-semester one is unit number one. Remember, it is only unit number one, so it would be more detailing, right? Please pay attention to the question and the options given. I have been repeating every now and then, so please pay attention to the question and the options given. Do not rush to finish the test. Okay, do not rush to finish the mid semester examination. Read it once, twice, whatever time provided you have. Please read it in a manner so that you don't make silly mistakes. Remember, because it is unit 1, you will be having only unit 1, you will be having many tricky questions. So an advice would be, instead of I want to finish it before the entire class does it, just keep that thought aside and look into the questions and the options, and then select the appropriate option, whatever you feel like. I know we'll not be facing much troubles because we have practicing the MCQ types throughout our sessions in the form of quizzes and unit tests. So you are very well aware how the MCQ parts work. Here, because it's a mid-semester examination, you will not be having questions for true and false types. Okay, you will not have a question for true and false type. Instead, the true and false type question would be converted into an MCQ. That is, you have an option, you have to select. There might be something blank, sentence structures changed, etc. I hope I'm making myself really clear on it. Unit number one, all the PPTs have been uploaded in the e-content, plus the reference books or the reference material has been uploaded on the Google shared folder. So kindly have a look into it. Right? Do we have any doubts, queries, or questions related to this midsem one? I hope I'm making things clear and you have been able to understand. Right? We don't have any doubts. Thank you, Darshil. Right? We don't have any doubts for it. Right? Please go through not only the PPTs but the reference material as well. Remember, a PPT is a bulleted part. Okay, it's a bullet points kind of an information that is given to you. What you can do is you can go to the reference material as well so that you can see the sentences, right? Refer to the notes which I have been asking you to make throughout my sessions, that please note this, please note that, whatever you have noted. See, those notes will come useful right now, right? So go through such things. In case you still have a doubt apart from the question, you cannot ask me what the question is or what could be the answer to that particular question on the day of the exam. Apart from this, if you are facing any problems or you do not understand a particular topic, you can always connect with me. Fine, I hope things are clear with the class. Now I'll take the attendance for today. Take the attendance. Enrollment number 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17, 19, 24, 25, 26, 31, 34, 35, 38, 44, 46, 47, 49, 50, 51, 53, 54, 56, 58, 65, 67, 68, 69, 72, 73, 82, 85, 89,
Ma'am, 29 you left.
who left? 89,
29.
29. I'll mark
Yes.
after I take the other 29 and 38. I'll mark it. Okay.
Okay.
89 is not there. 91,
Present, ma'am.
96, 100, 101, 102, 103, 106, 108, 117, 118, 119.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 120, 121, 125, 126, 131, and 134, and last 144. 29 and 38, I have marked your presence as well. So I wish you all the luck for your mid-semester exam. In case you have a query, you can always get back to me. Fine. Thank you, class.
Hello,
Yes, Gaurav.
hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, is it last lecture?
No. Next week we'll have a lecture, but next week will not be revising things. We'll be continuing with what we have.
For this week, I am saying.
For this week, I suppose that uh, I'm not sure about it. You may contact your class coordinator for it. She'll be able
Okay,
to
ma'am.
better tell you, right? So, in case you
Thank you.
have queries, you can get back to me. But maybe next week when we or this week, whenever we have lectures, I am not sure, but we'll not be revising anything right now, so that you can start preparing. In case we have at least for 2-3 days, we have a holiday, so you can start preparing on it. And whenever we have lectures, we'll be continuing with things in unit number 3. I'll not be keep on revising unit 1. That's why I've taken a time to revise, so that you have a little time to study for this little holiday that you have. Fine. Thank you, class. Have yourself a very nice day. Thank you.